on today's episode, we have a fun little show planned. We're going to talk about some of the changes that we made over the last week. We're going to talk about some of the things that happened because of those changes, how some of the games have looked. We'll take some comments from anybody that wants to kind of get on and share their thoughts on how these games are going. And then in an hour, I've got a game against my buddy Grady. So it should be a fun time. Let's get into some of the news for the week. So, in the last week, we did make some adjustments to sliders. We changed some things around. The stats, in my opinion, have looked positive and negative. Let's get over here to some of these stats. I like that some of the scores are going down. We're having way less games in the 50s. We're still getting games in the 50s. For instance, this week we had Tampa Bay, Philly, 51-52. We had Cincinnati, Detroit, 62-55. We had Kansas City, 51, Washington, 30. So there's still a couple games here and there that looks like they're getting into some higher scores. But it's definitely something that I feel like is getting better. We're on a trend down. I still would like to see some of the stuff updated a little bit. My recommendation is going to be to put the defensive awareness sliders and the pass coverage sliders probably up to 95 where we've had them in the past. I also like to see the speed threshold probably go up to 95 is going to be my vote. I like the information that we got back from RFF. I think he did a really good job with those. Some other areas I would like to see less interceptions. I know everyone out there is like, we're throwing right to guys and they're dropping them. Yo, we're still having guys throwing right to guys though. Like the league, our members have to play better football. Like it's really that simple. So I don't want to see DBs hitting themselves in the face and be like, oh, I just dropped the ball. But we shouldn't be giving them those opportunities. So a lot of those scores I think still come back on us. As we look at some of these other stats that have kind of been popping, and what I tried to do is I tried to go in here and I tried to eliminate some of the ones that happened in like the first few weeks when we had the original sliders we needed to adjust. But there's still these games, man. We're still seeing a lot of interceptions being thrown. We're still seeing 4 or 5 picks per game. It's just some of this stuff that we have to adjust. We have to do a better job. So I know that everyone wants to say we want to see some stats, we want to see these different things. Well, we got to do it. That's part of us. That's the thing that we do. It's not something that somebody else is doing. It's something that we are doing. So we need to do a better job. We need to kind of come out and showcase what sim play is supposed to be, and I think we're going to see some things play better. I know that I like to have my games done in about an hour and 15 minutes. My last few games have been done in an hour and 15 minutes. So if the users are playing in a way that they're supposed to play, we're seeing some really good stats. So I'm encouraged with that. I still think we have a ways to go, but the trend is on the right wavelength, I would say. But I also want to go in here and I want to see some of my own where the sliders are at, and I'll give you an actual in-depth look of where I believe they need to go in the future. And that doesn't mean that's where we're going to go. This is just my opinion on how I've dealt with sliders in the past. So this is what I think. Right now, quarterback actually is at 25. We saw our completion percentage is about 63%. The NFL is averaging about 66%. So our completion percentage absolutely needs to go up. Having said that, I still think that falls back on the users for throwing more complete passes. I think we need to do a better job of hitting guys that are open and not just taking shots that are 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. I think we need to do a better job of eating underneath, taking the really quick stuff that's open and making things open deeper in the game because you're taking things that are underneath. You're forcing coverages up. So 25, I think, is about a good look. Pass blocking being at 30, to be truthfully honest with you, I would actually turn this down a little bit. I don't think we're getting enough sacks. I don't think we're getting enough pressure. I think at times people are getting too long to sit in the pocket. But I also recognize that's not happening for everybody, so I'm cool leaving it as is currently. But in my opinion, it's something that probably needs to go down. Wide receiver catching is at 44. I also think this is something that probably could go down just a bit. But again, it's not something that we're seeing anybody have any crazy kind of yardage individually, so it's not like this is affecting one person. But I don't like tight ends being as overpowered as what I think they can be at times. So I could justify bringing that down a little bit, but it's not something I'm real crazy about either. Run blocking, I think, is actually playing really well. That's at 28. I would be encouraged to drop pass blocking to 28 as well, just to kind of have a matchup and see if they're doing similar things. Fumbles being at 85, I think, is doing good. We're not seeing as many fumbles. Still hit sticks, still a couple things here and there, but nothing crazy. The NFL doesn't have a ton of fumbles per game. Madden actually has it like ×5. It's a significant amount. So we had to do a really good job of pulling that back, but I think that that's working really well. Pass defense reaction time, like I said, is at 90 currently. That and pass coverages are both at 90. I would still be encouraged to put those up to 95, and I would want to see the threshold kind of go up a little bit to continue to see those DBs staying in proximity so that as receivers are catching them, we're bringing them down in the field of play. It's continuing to make the clock continue to go. So it's an area I'd kind of like to see those adjustments. And then tackling at 70, I think tackling has actually been pretty good. So we wanted to see more guys being brought down. We've actually been seeing that. So that's been working out really well. Some of the other stuff that we wanted to see was, let's get down here to some. I would actually like to see injuries go up. The injuries right now are at 11. I don't think we're seeing nearly enough. I would actually be encouraged to see those kind of move a little bit. Again, minimum speed threshold right now is sitting at 80. We had it at 70. I would still like to kind of see it go up to hit that 95-ish if it's voted on to do that. Defensive pass interference is at 54. That's one that I would like to see go up. We just kind of talked about it. I don't think we're seeing it enough. Here's the thing with defensive pass interference, though. And I know that Pollux brought up a pretty good clip, and it showed a defensive back was guarding over the slot receiver. The outside receiver outside of them was doing an in route, and as he went for his route, him and the nickel corner just ran into each other, and it caused them to like bump, and then it went and the quarterback threw it. It was intercepted because the receiver wasn't where he was supposed to be. Was that defensive pass interference? Well, one, you can have defensive pass interference in the first 5 yards and they're not going to call it. The play was actually really close. I think it happened about the 5 or the 6. I don't know when it was engaged, but it did look like it finished engagement about the 6-yard line away. So it could have been pass interference. It could have been, except there's also a rule in the NFL about accidental contact, right? And accidental contact is if I'm a DB and I'm running behind a receiver and our feet get tripped up. That's accidental. It wasn't something that was intentional. So they don't typically call stuff like that. If two guys are running in opposite directions and they run right into each other, did they mean to run into each other? Probably not. It's accidental contact. So was something like what Pollux brought up earlier, was that something that was accidental contact? It could be. I don't know how the game is engineered to play. I don't know how they have those different things set up. All I know is that it does look, in my opinion, like pass interference could go up. I just don't know what they have entailed that's going to be accidental or it's actually defensive interference. So what I believe is what we're seeing is that if a computer on its own, completely on its own, you don't hit over to hit Y or X or do things on a defensive back, you don't hit B to switch over to the person, as is if you just let the defensive player, the computer, do its thing. I've never seen pass interference called. And why I believe that is I think they have it programmed that anything is that's computer on computer, they don't call those things because they aren't programmed to do those things. So if they do run into each other, it is an accident because it's not a programmed thing. So they don't program any of their players to run into each other. So I don't know why they would include that into pass interference. And again, I don't ever see that. So that's just my own opinion. I do think that they have that called on the user. So if the user bumps somebody by accident, or if the user goes over to hit Y or X as the ball is in the air and you don't do it on time, those kind of things are user controlled. So they do include those into pass interference because the user is now making the mistake, which is pass interference. It's not accidental. It's user controlled. I believe that is the way they do it. I don't know that for sure. But I wouldn't mind messing with that slider to see if we could kind of get some different things to be called, because I don't think that that's something that's called enough. Some other different things. Those are pretty much what I would consider where sliders could go going forward that will get us to the stats that we're kind of wanting to see. So that's just my opinion, but we'll make those votes and we'll go from there. To get on to another subject is there has been some questions on a rule violation, and that is, what was it? I have it in my notes. The rule violation in question. Where was it? Let me go see. Let me go back into my notes and we'll check something out real quick. Because it wasn't that far back here. And I said that if one person had the question on it, others might have the question on it as well. And so we wanted to go back through here and discuss it. Give me just a second, guys. Oh, man, I'm having a super brain fart. Okay, so we're just kind of talking about some of the sliders that we adjusted last week, what some of the stats were looking like so far. There was a rule, though, that this week in the Legacy chat, somebody said something. I was like, oh, I'll address that on the Commish chat. And now I'm having a huge brain fart on what that thing was. I don't know. I don't remember. So that's kind of where we're at with those things. If I remember, I'll get that info out to you guys. I do want to give a huge shout out to some of you guys that are having some really sim games. Some of you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Who was it? The Chicago Green Bay game I watched. That one was really well. I know that Nick has had some struggles getting his games under 40, so to see him finish 33-21, I thought was really cool. I almost had what I forgot there, but then it left me again. It was seeing Trey lose. That was kind of crazy. I haven't seen Trey lose in a while, and he lost a pretty good game over to the Chargers. That one was an interesting one. I'm going to remember this as soon as I click off this damn thing, and I'm going to be very frustrated with what this rule was. But there is a misconception out there, and I swore I was going to talk about it on the show. And I forget what it was. Son of a bitch. If anybody out there, you guys remember what it is, address it, and I will make sure that we address it in the channel, because I am currently spacing it. So, I do want to make sure that before I forget, you guys message DK. Give him some heartfelt love. Dude's really going through some stuff with his family. He's got to take care of his family first, so he backed out of what we're doing here. But, man, get the guy some love. Let him know that the community is here to support him. I know that he is new, but that's who we are. We're a brotherhood that reaches out to our family, and once you become part of our community, you become part of our family. So reach out to him. Make sure that he is doing well. Just give him some love. Send him some prayers. Make sure that's good. Heartless wasn't feeling so well. I know that he has kind of been struggling. Make sure that you guys are sending him some love. I'm hoping that he's feel better. I don't know if he has the COVID sickness or not, but it did sound like he was getting something that was pretty serious. If you guys get an opportunity, there's some really cool stuff going on in the Madden community. Nate over at OMFL he had the hurricane that came in, flooded some stuff. It was not a fun experience. He was out for a while. He's just getting back into town. He finally got his streams up. They are on YouTube, but check out OMFL live. And just tell him that you're glad that he's back from the SPA community. It's pretty cool that he's back doing the things that he loves. I love seeing him enjoy those things. I know we can talk about. We can talk about the scouting feature. So, a lot of people have been asking, what's going on with the scouting feature? What's going to happen when we restart? What is our game plan? Here's going to be the game plan. So a few years ago, we had to restart the league due to a freeze, right? And what we did was we granted every single person in the league commissioner's power, right? And your job was to go to Daddy Leagues. What we had up that had all of our previous game files saved, so it had all the overall stats. Everything was there. And your job as your own team was to go in and edit every single one of your players that you wanted to match where they were at in the game before. And when you were done, you reach out to your rep and you just go, hey, I'm done. Can you remove my commissioner's power? We remove it, and then we go in and check. The reps will go in and check first. Your division rivals can go in and check as well. We encourage them to do those kind of things. Commissioners will come be after that and also triple and quadruple check. So there's going to be a lot of different people that are coming in to check your different rosters. If you cheat, you're gone. We are not putting up with any cheaters. Don't cheat. Do not be the guy that cheats. Quadruple check yourself to make sure that you didn't make a mistake so that you didn't cheat. Make sure your stuff is done. Because if you cheated, you're sitting on the bench, bro. Like, we're not putting up with that. We all have a job to do. We all have a task to do. Do your part. Don't make it hard for anybody else. So that'll happen. When that happens, we'll be good to go. A lot of people are wondering, when is the scouting feature going to drop? Is it even something that's coming in October? We don't know if it's coming in October. All these different things. Guys, relax. Right? Relax. There's work being done. I promise you. I cannot confirm or deny if there is a patch out already for people that are testing. I cannot confirm or deny that. I cannot confirm or deny that if there was one, we are looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is something that's likely to come. If anybody asked me, guess a date, because nobody has told me the date that is coming. No one told me. But based on the timeline that I understand with how this stuff works, my guess would probably be about the 20th to the 24th. I would guess after, if there is some testing done, that it would probably take that amount of time, and then they would have to get those into Xbox and Microsoft, or Microsoft and Sony for approval, and then they would hit consoles after that. But that would just be my guess to all of you, is probably anywhere from the 20th to the 24th. So we'll continue to play with what we're doing. We'll continue to have some fun. Huge shout out to the SPA community for continuing to show up, to continuing to show out, show support. You guys are doing a great job getting into each other's channels, making sure that everybody's feeling that love. Love all you guys. Continue to do what you're doing. I got a game coming up here in about 40 minutes, 38 minutes. I will see all of you guys then. Adios. Ending.